When you're feeling stressed out or anxious, is there anything that you do more often than usual? Many people experience these types of anxiety, and they find that their breathing is harder or they start sweating more. But what about the less obvious signs? There are some signs of anxiety which can be more difficult to spot. To help you, here are a few less obvious habits that could indicate anxiety. Number 1. You excessively play with your hair. Some people think that when a person touches their hair, they're flirting. But it can also depend on the circumstances. Like whether they're in a conversation with someone, how they're feeling, and who they're talking to. When you're feeling anxious or feeling any sort of relief, you might also find yourself touching your hair. But too much of it may also lead to body-focused repetitive behaviors, or BFRBs. These are a set of disorders including things like compulsive hair pulling or compulsive skin picking. Number 2. You create multiple to-do lists. How many tasks do you have? As an overthinker, it might seem daunting to try to tackle all the smaller details. For example, groceries, documents at work, meeting up with a friend on time. The problem with overthinking is that the thoughts never stop. It's hard to find a break from it all. The stress of trying to remember everything can be overwhelming and lead to bad decision-making. So the best thing you can do is to take a step back and try to prioritize the tasks that need the most attention in order for you to get your life in order. Writing out your tasks can be a helpful way to look at everything you have going on, but it may lead to anxiety. This may result in a feeling of being overwhelmed with what you have to do. A study done by a senior doctoral student at Carleton University found that to-do lists are effective when it comes to planning your day. But it might depend on how much you like structure and organization. Number 3. You're not able to sleep through the night. People who suffer from anxiety disorders can be prone to getting too anxious and stressed out and may suffer from insomnia. This is often the result of their hypersensitivity to noises and light, which leads to mental hyperarousal, frequently marked by worry. According to research, anxiety disorders also have an impact on learning how to sleep. When people experience increased anxiety before bed or during the night, they tend to have more unsettling dreams that lead them into a cycle of mental rumination. It's just not healthy. Nightmares have been found to be more common in people with insomnia, who may have a higher sensitivity to being awake while simultaneously being asleep. This negative association of dread and sleep can then result in more nightmares. Number 4. You use fear language. Do a lot of your sentences start with the words, "I'm afraid," "I'm concerned," or "I'm worried"? These expressions may be a sign that you're living in an overly anxious state. It's important to remember that small things are not as big as they seem. There are many phrases that are used more often than others. Many licensed clinical psychologists have noted that the regular use of these phrases may indicate a deeper issue. Whether it's the worst or "I can't," some people have found themselves using these words so often their self-worth is being negatively impacted. Even so, sometimes worry can spread and become a form of anxiety that doesn't get the help it needs. Number 5. You're not able to sit still. Can you stay still when you're seated? You might find yourself tapping your foot or constantly changing posture, which could be a slight indication of anxiety. It's not uncommon to find yourself shifting positions when sitting, even if you're sitting still. This can be a sign of anxiety or boredom and might also relate to the way the chair is positioned. Nonetheless, it's important to mention that being unable to sit still can also be a sign of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, also known as ADHD. For people with this condition, sitting down is a mindless task that does not offer their brains a sense of reward. Number 6. You apologize excessively. When you find yourself apologizing for almost anything, it's a sure sign of anxiety. When you're anxious, your body will release hormones that make you feel tense, on edge, and self-critical. This can lead to saying a sorry without even realizing it. Anxiety can show up in various ways. You might find yourself still apologizing for the situation even after trying to move on. If you're often hard on yourself and have a tendency to beat yourself up about small things, then it's likely that you also have the habit of over-apologizing or feeling too much guilt. Number 7. You forget important details. When you have anxiety, it can lead to overthinking, which can then lead to the feeling that you are being overwhelmed. One way that people cope with their feelings is to have a plan B for what they will do if the worst should happen. It can feel really empowering to know what you will do if things don't go well, and it may help lower your anxiety. Anxiety can often make you miss important details, or even forget important information. So be sure to take some time to assess whether or not you have been having a lot of anxiety. You may find that your mind is racing, and it may be difficult to concentrate on anything for very long. Your mood might also be low, and it may seem like you're in a fog most of the time. We want to hear from you. What are your coping strategies for anxiety? Share your experiences with us below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the notification bell icon to get notified whenever Life is Learning posts a new video.